All right, guys, we have actually our first return guest. We have Daniel, the past life regressionist on One Spirit Talks today. So I'm so happy to have you again. How's it going?
Oh, I couldn't pull it off that time. I was going to do a freeze. I
He
couldn't.
was
I
doing
just
a
broke
free.
character.
He was going to do the freeze, but little do you know, we've been freezing for now 17 minutes on and off.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
about right.
so it kind of got overplayed there a little
Thank you for having me, Stephanie.
bit.
I appreciate you having me on again. I'm honored to be a second time guest.
Yeah, you're the first one. It was so fun the first time.
And
That
it's probably been what, almost 2 years since or a year and a
real
half since we
I
recorded.
don't
It was
know
in 2024.
because I have the worst memory. I have no idea. But it was a while. And we if you listen to it, we talked about past life regressions. And today I wanted to do a deeper dive into the relationships we have now and how they relate to our past lives.
On game.
Okay? Okay.
Yeah.
You sure? Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like fun. I
All
mean,
right.
it's pretty on brand for me talking about past life stuff. So,
Yeah. And I
yeah.
think, right, the people component, I think when it boils down to problems, a lot of it has to do with our interaction with other people, either
Mhm.
how they make us feel, how we feel when we leave conversations, how we feel when we're around them, and obviously our own self-worth. But I think that was mirrored back to us based on the interactions we've had since we were children. So I think, yeah, dealing with people is super important, but there's so many tie-ins with past lives. So I'm curious for everyone who's listening who has met someone who irritates them right away, past life or this life,
I mean, I
and
think it
how
could
do
be
we tell the
both.
difference?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, just to jump in on that one, I think it could be both. I will never default automatically to it being a past life connection. But, I think that if there's no reason why you're so annoyed by that person, yet they just annoy you,
Hmm.
then I think that there's a strong likelihood it could have something to do with a past life interaction or an interaction from another life. Now, how do we tell? I think there's a couple different ways. One would be having a past life regression. And
Hmm.
if that dynamic comes up, then you understand that there is a component behind it that has its roots somewhere else. I think another way that we can potentially find that information is through astrology by looking at synastry in a chart. When it comes to these situations, I'll also always default to the Sherlock Holmes quote
Mm.
of once you've eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. So when it comes to this, if you can't find any logical reason for why you're so annoyed by this person, or this person triggers you in this way, even though 100 people could have done the same exact thing that they've done. And also, this relates to you meeting them for the first time. Because I think if there's someone
Yes,
who's been in your life for a long time, they
yes,
could trigger you like no one else can. But in
yes,
this circumstance, I
yes.
think if you're triggered naturally by that person more so than others, go and eliminate the impossible,
Yeah.
which would be
And
it's a past life.
and it ties in because, right, like meeting someone, not knowing anything about them, you're picking up, like, I'm all about energy. So I feel like part of it too might be the energetics of it, like
Mhm.
m the frequency I'm vibrating at, or like my energy might clash a little bit with yours. We're just not gelling. But I like how you brought up the point of knowing someone in your life and just having friction. And I think the whole point, what brought me to bring up this topic, was not even random people, but dealing with patterns and people that are not always the best for you.
Mhm.
So, like, I'm thinking relationships that you keep going back to, right? The patterns, the irritations that come up, and obviously it might be a past life. And I think of a lot of times I've had situations in my own life where until I started doing the Akashic Records and I actually was able to go in and kind of feel some things out, I had no idea why patterns kept coming up, or I'd noticed the same personality traits in different people, let's say at work or in friendships. And I'd be like, why does the same stuff keep happening? Like, I didn't get it. I'm like, is it me? But when I actually went to figure it out, it's like certain people were playing different roles in different lifetimes. But those roles and those lifetimes had similar threads to this one. And I know a lot of times people think, oh, past life, everything's going to be the opposite. So if I was like really mean in one lifetime, I'm going to be
Oh, I
the nice
yeah.
person who has the mean people always attacking them. But I feel like, at least with me, I've noticed a lot of similarities between the patterns that are showing up now and the patterns that have shown up then. So why is that? Like, why do you feel, or do you feel like the patterns typically in your experience with your clients, do you feel like the patterns continue or do you feel like they're complete opposites and you're on different sides of the situation?
I tend to see same side
Yeah,
and
same side.
not the role reversal
Yeah.
because with the work that I do, it is all about pattern recognition and in seeing yourself in that role and needing to break a pattern. So all I can really speak from is my own observation and experience. And so, like, yeah, everyone, please don't treat this as an absolute. I appreciate Stephanie coming at me like I'm the past life god right now. You know, it's ego is one of the things I'm working on in this life too. So thank you for providing me with this opportunity to try to grow. But I usually just see same roles and breaking the pattern of like, let's just say victim perpetrator. If we're
Yeah.
going to boil it down to those two, I don't see the eye for an eye. You know, like
Hmm.
this person did this to you in that life, so you're doing this to them in this life in order to balance it out. I see the repeated pattern of this person did this, and then they did it again in another life, and then they did it again in another life, and then they did it again in another life. And at what point do you break the pattern? What
Hmm.
point do you either walk away or stand up for yourself or find another variable to it? Or you did this to this person, you did this to this person, you did this to this person, you did this to this person. When are you going to stop doing it to this person? Or when are they going to stop allowing it to happen? Or when are
Mm.
they going to walk away? And like, I'm also, I'm not a stranger to feeling salty at times. Yesterday morning, I was upset when I called a pharmacy because there was, there was like pills in my bottle that were mixed. And I, thank God I caught it. But the issue at hand was that they switched manufacturers. It was still the same like pill bottle. And I mean, I called right away and I'm like, hey, there's two different pills here. Did you guys mess this up? And then they explained it to me. Now, could you say that this was like past life retribution? Or was I just like, I'm not going to put up with anything today. This could have
Hmm.
killed me. And I'm not going to, this or that. When all was said and done, I mean, I wasn't mean, I didn't yell, but I went in there a little salty. And at the end, I said, okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. Well, what if this was the first time that happened? What if that wasn't a past life thread, but that was the first time? And that set something off where maybe in the next life, I try to handle things differently. Maybe I go in there like, hey, I saw these different pills and this and that. Or maybe I handled it correctly because maybe I was too much of a pushover before. Whatever it may be, look, I was in the wrong. It was fine. It's a good thing that I caught it. They even said it's good that you called just in case, but there's got to be a first time for everything, also. That's the other part of this.
And you never know. I feel like that's the thing.
Hmm.
You never know. And I
Hmm.
do feel like with the patterns that sometimes it could be something like that, like the way you respond or react in the moment. Obviously, there's probably a deeper meaning there. There's probably like underneath that a
Hmm.
reason other than obviously wanting to be safe and not wanting to take a pill that would do who knows what. But it's almost like there's always something underneath, but it's hard to identify what is the lesson now? Is it a big lesson? Is it a small lesson? Is it something I have to overcome? And I think for me, at least with lessons and patterns and dealing with people and all of this stuff, it's like stuff that starts out really small and then it leads to growth in the long run because as you're in the situation when you're like on the phone with CVS, like waiting for them to pick up and trying to figure it out, maybe the next time something happens, you get over it. But maybe in a past life, you took a different medication and you died. You
Yeah.
have no idea.
Hmm. But even with that, my default was to always go to past life stuff. I mean, we're talking over a decade ago. But in this circumstance, also, I have to look at my role in this too, because there are times when I've combined pill bottles when I get to the end and I get a refill. I'm just like, oh, I still got some left. Let me just put it in. I don't know if this was one of the times when I did that.
Oh, and I
So
forgot.
maybe it could have been that. I don't think so. I don't think so, but it could have been. So this
Mm.
could have been completely on me. And yet I went in there again. When I say went in hot, I'm talking like a 1 out of 10 because I'm also aware that the person I'm talking to on the phone may not have been the person who did anything.
Yeah, sure.
So, I think it also allows me the opportunity to look at myself in my role in whatever that given circumstance is and not just put it on other, but what am I doing to create this circumstance or situation?
Yeah. And it leads us to like relationships. And I think sometimes in this space, there are people who say, right, they're in a bad relationship. We've all had them. We've all had relationships that we stayed in that were not good for us, people who treated us poorly, and we were just stuck. There was just that pattern over and over again. And I feel like some people are like, there's this tie, we're twin flames, we're soulmates, and they use that and they hang on to it. And because of that, because they think there's this tie, there's this pattern from a past life. And yes, it's a terrible relationship and I feel miserable, but there's something there and it makes it hard, like you said, to like choose to do it different. And I think that's a big crutch sometimes with this. And it's, I think, important, just like you said, to realize in the moment, whether it was a past life connection or not. Like, I feel like I said this to someone, whether it's a past life connection or not, it doesn't mean it should continue now.
Hmm.
Maybe, like you said, maybe the purpose is for you to be like, I'm not putting up with this anymore. Like, this is done. Your role in teaching me to maybe stand up for myself and establish boundaries, like that's it. That's their role. Soulmates, twin flames, all of that stuff, it doesn't matter if you are not living your best life and feeling loved and cherished.
I know there's not a question there, but can I comment on that too?
Yes.
I feel like kind of giddy right now. I don't know why. I'm turning 40, very shortly, so I feel like I'm getting all the childlike energy out on
Yeah.
me. When it comes to twin flames, I am I'm not opposed to the idea and the concept of it, but I'm just going to say I think it's the stupidest thing anyone can do when it comes to relationships to label a relationship as a twin flame relationship because, well, one, you're there's so many different definitions for what a twin flame is, and you're already setting an expectation by labeling it as such. But what happens if, let's just say the concept is real and you end up parting from this person, and then you actually meet your twin flame? But you went ahead and labeled this other relationship a twin flame relationship. Did you kind of shoot yourself in the foot by doing that? Why don't you just let the relationship be what it is? A learning experience, whether that be joyful or not so joyful, and be along for the ride and not place expectations on it by putting a certain label. Now, of course, if you want to label this person as your boyfriend or girlfriend, that's different because it's like, hey, this is what we are.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's like, oh, this is my soul union, divine, this, the apex of twin flame unions,
Yeah.
why? Why do you need that? Why can't you just let it be?
Well, I feel like a lot of times it's those relationships that are the ones that are so magnetic that people feel this pull, and it's so hard for people to move forward. So I feel like I always wanted to bring that up because I'm like, so many people get hung up on in a past life, I feel like I was married to this person. And in this current life, our relationship is on and off, or we are terrible for each other, but they have that in their head. And it's so hard to move forward and have a healthy relationship with someone else because it's like there's just that strand, that soul cord that's just there.
Well, with that, if any one of your listeners has that feeling towards someone right
Hmm.
now, I'm not going to go as far to guarantee you this, but there's a high probability and likelihood that you were probably married to your children as well, and your parents or your brother and sister, again, in different roles, but you were probably married to them at some point or another. Or that person you're in a relationship with right now, who you have this pull to, you may have been their child at one time.
Hmm.
So just because the dynamic was there in another life does not mean that it's going to necessarily play itself out the exact same way this time, because then you're placing too much of an emphasis on the dynamic of the past instead of just letting it be present in the moment and letting it unfold the way that it's meant to or unfold in real time. So if there's anything I can leave with the listener with, it's just be. I know this is ironic coming from the guy who's dedicated his life to the exploration of other lives and past lives, but that exploration is all about making the most meaningful time out of what we have now and just let it be. So if it was, it was, but what is it now? That's what's most important. What is it now? And if the guy is an ass now, then that's what he is. If the girl is, well, in our time right now, I just fill in the blank, then that's what she is. If that's what they are, that's what they are. They could have been Prince Charming in the other life, but maybe they're not now. So I understand the draw. And yes, there could be a reason for it, but what are they now?
And maybe in this life, they were never meant to be a spouse or a healthy relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like your greatest enemy could be your greatest love in other lives.
And your greatest
But they're
teacher in this life.
exactly, but
Yeah.
that's what they are in this life. They're not your greatest love in this life.
Yeah. Well, even like choosing, right? This is another thing I feel like people have difficulty grasping. It's that we chose the main people we wanted in our storyline in this life. That's at least what I believe. I do believe we chose who our parents are and who you wanted in your life to teach you certain lessons. Um, do you believe that as well?
I do. I mean, I
So,
believe that on a human level. I believe there's so many more variables that we can't even take into
yeah.
consideration because we are just stupid humans. And how could we possibly understand the intricacies of the way that all this works?
Hmm.
But yes, on the level that I can understand it, I am in agreement with you.
So it's like why, right? When we're going through difficult circumstances or difficult relationships, why do we choose them? Right? Like for me, I know it's probably there's this lesson that we have to learn in order to expand the wisdom of our soul. But why do you think we chose them?
Well, I'm with you on the expansion of the wisdom of our soul, but then I also believe in the concept of karma
Mm.
and that maybe we just needed to balance something out with that individual. So it was necessary. And we, on some level, just knew that this would be the right life to work on the balancing of whatever that circumstance or action may be. And it just kind of fit into the plan. Because I also don't believe that time is linear as much as we can't perceive it as anything other. So when it comes to the planning of all these things, I don't think we're looking at any one given life. I think we're looking at the totality of all. And so we're able to see like, oh, well, let's mix it in here because it'll work over here. And oh, this will work over here a little bit better than whatever here. So we're going to save that until that life over there. So I think it's this balancing act, but we're looking at it from a higher vantage point when we're in the planning phase, and that phase being before we come into the body in a linear time sense.
Hmm. But karma, right? We always hear karma will get you back, right? Something annoying happens. I don't have to deal with it. Karma will take over. But when we're the ones facing karma, especially if it's negative karma or challenging issues related to karma, what is the best way you would say to work through that? Because I feel like sometimes it's hard. People might be like, oh my gosh, this is all my fault. I have to deal with this because, the terrible thing is happening in my life because of karma, and it's because I did something. Can you change karma? Can they get out of it? if it's something from a past life. Does that make sense?
Like I don't think that there's any circumventing it, if that's what you're asking.
Yes. Oh, you don't?
I think you have to work through it. I think you have to experience it. I think it is. Like a prime example is even when we signed on today and we
Hmm.
were having technical difficulties. I think it was probably on my end. Maybe it was on your end. Whatever. It doesn't matter. But when I brought up the freezing, like, oh, you're freezing, like you thought I was kidding
Yeah.
because when we did
That's
the
what I
first
said. I
pod,
was like, this
right?
is,
But I set that into action. A year and a half ago, my actions at the beginning of the recording, that's what set that up. You probably would have just taken it at face value today when I said, oh, we're freezing. Like, oh, okay. But
100%.
but because of my actions, you questioned it at that time. That's on me. That that is on me. There was no malicious intent in either part, but my actions had ramifications even today. Where
Yeah.
so I got it in that moment where I didn't take offense to it that you didn't trust me when I said that it was freezing. It's like, no, I did that. That was on me. Now, do I think I'm a horrible person because of it? No, I still think it was a good joke at the beginning of the last
It
episode.
was very
I would,
funny.
right, I would do it again. Like, I obviously
On
didn't
purpose
learn,
next time.
right? But I'm not gonna beat myself up over it happening. I'm just like, it happened. I did that. Now, if I make the same joke on another podcast with someone else, I have to be ready for the balancing act that that could be something that would happen. But I set that into motion. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. But it's going to make me think about other actions in general and about the ripple effect and how this could lead to this. So I, I believe I've done horrible things in other lives. I believe that I've committed atrocities, but I also believe I've been a saint,
Right.
literally and metaphorically. But that was then. I don't lose sleep at night over the atrocities that I think I may have committed through the observation and past life regression. That is me, but it's not me. There's a separation. So when it even comes to interpersonal dynamics, if someone comes into my life and I end up seeing them in a past life regression and I did something horrible to them, maybe I'm the flawed one here to say, like, I just want to be the best person I can be now. And I'm not going to worry about me being a jerk to them in another life. I'll worry about me being a jerk to them in this one.
Hmm.
And if I am, then I can do better. And if I was, well, I don't need to be again and I can do better. But I just want to focus on my actions in this life and the dynamics at play that I've created, that I am consciously aware of beyond what I've seen through the experience of past life regression.
So at what point, right? Because I feel like we're human and we have regular real life things to deal with, but at what point are you going through something and you're like, this is a little too heavy, or this is a little too wild, or something feels a little familiar, or something feels so magnetic that you're like, I want to go check out and see if this relates to something in a past life.
I don't anymore. I
Not
used to.
anymore. Yeah.
I used to run to that.
Do you feel like it was a crutch at some point? Like we were talking
Yeah,
about like crutches, like
it was.
everything. Yeah.
And I don't think it's a bad thing
Yeah.
if you're only doing it sporadically. But I think if you're relying on it too much,
Hmm.
then it's too much. Now, I think I used to justify it by saying it's like, oh, this is just research. This is hands-on experience for me as a past life regressionist.
Mm.
And yes, do I think it was beneficial? Yeah. But I would also run to that. And then also, it just, it wasn't necessary for me. I should have
So,
just looked at it or took it at face value.
right. So when you went back to it and you're like, I'm going to look at this, and then what did you learn? Like, what did it help you do? Did it in the moment change? Like what you were going to do now? Did it give you some peace of mind? Did it help you understand the situation better? Or,
Like, I'm going to be vague about this because I think this can apply to everyone.
yeah.
I didn't need it. Did it add an extra level or layer of color to the picture? Yeah. I didn't need it though. I didn't. The picture was clear enough. But I don't fault myself for doing it. And I would never fault anyone for wanting to explore that because sometimes I think we may need that boost of adrenaline in that respect. Like when you're in that life and death situation, not to
Mhm.
elevate it to that, but where it's like sometimes juice up a little bit because maybe that's what someone needs to push them over the edge. Now, I may be in a different category at this point because I've been a past life regressionist for a decade. This has been my life for a decade. So I am immersed in this world and through observation and my own experience, maybe I don't need it as much.
Mm.
Maybe others do, but I would still say look at the picture for what it is. Just if it's there, it's there. If the guy is being abusive, then get out. Get out. Oh, I want to go have a past life regression to see what this dynamic is. And then, you show up, and
Yeah.
I don't mean to make light of this, but it's like,
Yeah.
hey, you have a black eye. That's a problem. Do you think that you should be coming and getting a past life regression or getting a restraining order?
Mm.
Like, this is bad.
Yeah.
See it for what it is. The picture is there. Now, if you scale it back a little bit, it's just like, oh, we have some strife. I don't think this is the right thing for me. It's a great person. And I don't know. I just want to understand a little bit more. Well, okay. There's an argument to be made for that.
Mhm. Yeah. I think it's so interesting. I actually pulled up a few of my past lives that I'm gonna,
Awesome.
yeah. And obviously, I'm not
Now,
gonna
when
go
you
through
say
all of
pull
them.
them up, what do you mean?
I write them in my notes because I have the memory of Dory from Finding Nemo, who forgets everything. So I
Oh,
literally,
okay.
yeah,
I
I
was like, oh,
literally
you were a
write
fish in a
them
past life?
down.
But then when
No.
yeah, it happens.
Yeah. So,
I guess we're not here to talk about animal past lives today, as you just breeze past that one.
wait, do people actually have past lives as animals?
I believe they do. I've had people see themselves as animals in other
Mhm.
lives, so that's my metric.
Yeah. So anyway, back to my lives here. Um, it's interesting because for me, when I decided to go into my past lives, right, it was most of the time to determine something I couldn't figure out now because I'm an overthinker and I'm very rational and I'm very logical. And sometimes you can't figure things out, right? Sometimes you think about things from all different angles and you cannot figure out what end is up. So for me, I always go in to the Akashic records to figure out what do I need to know? Like what is the lesson? So it's not even the who I was in a past life, who I dated in a past life, like what I was doing, it's the lesson. I feel like that is so important. And I feel like that's what I love doing is going back to see the lesson. What
Mhm.
do I need to know from a past life that is influencing this life now? Oh, he's clapping. So I can get some outside perspective, see it maybe differently, and then figure out how to move forward. Like for me, I'll bring up, it has nothing to do with people, maybe it does. I hate the city. I refuse to go down. I just do not like it, right? And so a
Me
lot
either.
of fears are why I go into my past lives because I'm like, why am I so scared of this dynamic? Why am I so hung up on this? That's type of stuff. So in terms of the city, there was a life where I remember I was walking through the street, and obviously you don't get like a full story, right? For me, this was just like a picture. But I was walking through the city and I got stabbed and I was left to die on the street. And I'm like, holy moly. Maybe there is a tie in there because I have no issues with like other places, but there's something about the city that I cannot get around. I just don't like it.
Like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's probably other layers to it also, because it's interesting you make the correlation with the city and being left for dead after being stabbed.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, is the correlation there because it happened in the city?
I think it happened in the city, but that does tie into like fears.
I
There
think
could be
I
more
think
to
there's a
that
little
one.
more to it than that, but
Yeah. And even like my other ones. The ones I went into always had a tie-in to the fear that I was trying to leap over. Like I had one where I was scared of showing up, right? Like in my business when I first started, I was scared of showing up. And like obviously personality plays into it because I am someone who was always very shy. Like I just was not the person to run into the room and make myself known. I was always the person to hide. So I know there's a lot of that. But I feel like for me, there was this like thread, this pattern that again, it was like so prevalent. Like, why am I like this? Like, I know why I'm like this. I know what happened, in my childhood. I know how I was raised. I know how that plays into it. But is there any relevance to something before? And so, yeah, I had so many past lives where something negative happened related to the fears I have in this lifetime, which I found interesting.
Do you find comfort in the idea that the main contributing factor was being left for dead and stabbed? Is there a certain level of comfort you feel with that?
I don't think there's comfort, but I think it just, I don't know. What I remember when I got that information, I was like, "Oh, there's a piece of this that makes sense. It could be more to it."
Oh, I think there's something else there. Yeah. There,
You're thinking, so I'm waiting.
no, that's one of my patterns right now is being too agreeable. I know that I don't know. I think there's something else there.
Really? I don't
Yeah.
think you're too agreeable.
I
I
mean
think you
it.
could be a little bit of a contrarian.
Oh no, yeah, I can, but in certain circumstances
Yeah.
where something is screaming at me, I'll just be like, oh yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So
I
why do you
mean,
do that?
oh, good flipping on me right now. I think we're on to something here. I'm okay. I can take the heat right now. I haven't fully discovered that one yet, to be honest with you. I
Yeah.
think a lot of it is the fear of rocking the boat too much and in being wrong.
Mm.
I think that's a lot of it. So it's like I'm okay with making someone feel uncomfortable by asking questions and also not doing it for malicious reasons.
Hmm.
But I don't like being wrong. I have no problem saying I was wrong, but I don't like having to do it or say that I was wrong being wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of times, like, yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, sure. The reason you left the city is because you were left for dead and stabbed. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And then when I start pushing it, look how Stephanie flips it on me. Okay. Yeah. Hmm. What door didn't she unlock when she was in the Akashic records there? What part does she still not want to look at?
Yeah. Well, definitely. There's always like more layers to it.
Hmm.
There's always parts that you want to uncover and discover.
And you brought up something else I think it was really important when you talked about not having the entire picture of the story. Because I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make as well when it comes to the exploration of past lives, present company included, me. For those who can't see that I'm raising my hand right now, there was a life that I saw many times in regressions. And I thought that I had the entire story. And then years later, when I saw it again, well, I didn't see what happened 5 minutes before my death, which changed everything. So I was making assumptions off of information that wasn't complete. So that's why when you hear me talk about my past lives, I use the word belief or here's what I think happened, here's what I saw, because I understand at this point that I'd be a fool to think that I have the entire picture and that I am not fully out of the picture in the equation when I'm experiencing these things because maybe there are things that I wasn't ready to see yet
Yeah, I
or
think
experience,
100%.
and that there's a part of me that is shutting it off and blocking it off or not allowing certain information to come through. So to piggyback on what we were talking about before with relationships, I believe that us humans are very strong-willed and that we still do have a level of control when it comes to what can filter in those moments and what we will allow in. So if someone is coming and questioning that relationship and only sees these amazing things, okay, what part aren't you acknowledging though? What
Mm,
part flashed, but you latched onto another part of it? You know, when you guys were rolling down the hill and frolicking, were you? Or did you pull them down when they tried to push you down the hill? And all you see is the rolling. And it's like, oh, I remember seeing this as a child when you see children frolicking,
yeah.
oh, yeah, laughing, but you don't hear the screams. And you've made the assumption that you were playing around instead of, yeah, an extreme example of, well, they pushed you and you pulled them down. But you're piecing together based off of the perception of what you want to see and experience in that moment and relate it now like, oh, I saw a past life where me and Hans, who is now John, and I'm straight in this life, but for the majority of your audience is female, like, where me and John in this life, he was Hans and I was, it was Gretchen. And, we were frolicking in the Alps, rolling down the hill. Yeah, okay. Maybe. But is that what you pieced together when it was something else and not having the entire story? Because I do still believe that we filter it through a lens and that confirmation bias can be a part of the equation.
Mm.
So, what is it you wanted to see happen? And was that what it was? Were you as strong as you made yourself out to be? Were you actually the hero that you thought you were in that life?
That's so interesting because that's the question I think a lot of people ask. What if this is coming to my head because I want it? What if I am imagining this because I want it? How do I know if it's real or if it's just, it's coming to me because I want it? And it's hard to know the difference, right? Unless you come from a very grounded place to begin with.
I think you brought up a good point there with being grounded. That's why I think it's very important to come in without expectations and being attached to a certain outcome. But as a practitioner, I can also see the holes in things
Hmm.
because 97% of the time, things just make sense. And when someone sees multiple lives and there's a thread that's at play and it's so perfect that no one could have scripted it because these things that they see are so seemingly unrelated, yet it just makes sense. The thread is there. To me, that's when they're allowing the flow to actually transpire and they're not influencing the process. And they're just allowing themselves to be and not be attached to an outcome. But when that flow is not there, and I'm not talking about when things aren't coming clearly at the beginning, because I think at the beginning of any session, you're not just automatically immersed in it. I think it
Hmm.
takes time to relax into it. And for someone like you, who maybe not now, but let's just say years ago, with your very critical and like a methodical mind, I guess
Yeah,
right?
very much.
Someone like you may have an issue with that,
Hmm.
because it's like, am I doing this right? Instead of just being in the moment. That's different from what I'm talking about. Because that's part of being, in the process and letting your human mind get out of the way, not contriving things. Making things up is a completely different aspect. So if anyone goes through the experience and has a little bit of trouble at first, totally natural. But I don't know if there's a way to fully know if we're making these things up. So that's why my message is always, well, what's the lesson?
Yeah.
What did you learn? And how can you apply that to your life now and live a more fulfilling life now and be a better human now and not be so attached to that? So it's like, excuse me, when, I've brought up the stuff about bad things I've done in other lives, do I believe that potentially there is a name in history that people know that I may have been associated with? Yes. But that's not what's important. What's important is the lesson. And do
Mm.
I see a pattern in my life now, not of committing atrocities, but how I deal with power and responsibility? Like I could walk in here right now and be like, this is the way it is. No one question me. Everyone come do a session and I'm going to blow your mind. And I'm going to change your life if you come do a session with me. But that's an abuse of power because I'm in a position of authority right now. I am Daniel, the past life regressionist. People know me as the past life regressionist. So when someone is walking into this for the very first time, that carries weight because I'm seen as an expert in my field. But I need to make sure I'm not abusing my power. And that's what I saw going on in those other lives was an abuse of power. So the lesson was the abuse of power and acting responsibly with what I have. That's why I'm doing my best to not speak in absolutes because I don't know. And
Mm.
when I say something, someone's be like, oh, well, he's been doing this for a decade. He knows. So if he said it, I'm going to go out there and parrot it. So that's why I go out of my way to also say, I don't know. This is what I believe. This is the pattern I've seen because I'm doing my best to be responsible and to not abuse my power. That was the lesson from those lives. Didn't matter who I was. Is there a part of me that still's like, yeah, history remembers who I may have been? Yeah, I'm working on that. I'm working on it. But I could come on here right now and be like, yep, that was me. Yep. Yeah. Come do a session with me. Yeah, that's right. People knew who I was. Come do a session with me. But that's not the lesson.
Yeah.
I would, I think I'd be doing the wrong thing if I were to approach things that way. Would it be more lucrative? Yeah.
So I know you've probably really gone deep. Is this the first lifetime then that you were consciously trying to move away from that power and using it from a place of good or just being more neutral?
I don't know,
Okay.
but it's not the only life I've seen where I've done good things.
Yeah.
I've seen many of those lives, but I don't know if this was the first one where I believe I'm conscious of it. Because look, I could be making all this up too. This could be a story that I'm telling myself in order to be like, yep, that's right. That's how I'm trying to be a better person is working on this past life stuff and trying not to repeat these patterns and trying to make sense of it. I think it's helping me though. I
But
think
that's all
ultimately at
we
the end
can
of the day, it's
do.
beneficial. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Mhm.
you're right with the lessons. That's all we can do. I think right now, all we have is now. Like, yes, we can look at past lives. We can hope for the future. We can go back and forth between the two and try to find, correlation between both. But I think the most important thing, which you've touched on a lot, is bringing it back to now and how you can make your now the best now it can be. Because
Mhm.
that is how we change and we grow. And I think that the patterns and the people will show up, whether it was a past life or a current life. People in your life will show up to show you the lessons or the patterns you need to shift or break or learn from. And I think you learn from past lives, but you also learn from this lifetime.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Look, I think the most difficult thing when we're also talking about these topics is the nature of time.
Hmm.
Because I think we're also operating under this assumption that these things we're talking about have already happened and that they're in the past. What That's the linear nature of time. And what if it's so much more than that? And what if now is so important, the totality of all, because our actions have a ripple effect, not only on what has already happened, in quotes, to our perception, but what hasn't happened yet.
Mm.
And what if they're bouncing off each other? So what if none of that matters because it all matters? What if? And what if it's all happening for the first time? And what if these connections that we've experienced haven't even happened yet? And we're experiencing them for the first time now, even though they've already happened. I know that's one big just, it's an oxymoron. I'm just going to
Yeah, it's
call
like
space
that.
space. Right. I'm never going to understand that. I don't
Mm.
think I am. And yes, I'm dedicating my life to the exploration of these concepts. And the irony is, it's bringing me back to the present in a way that I never thought was possible by exploring these other lives and not placing such an importance on them. I think it's helping the totality of all. And bringing up the stuff with the pill bottle earlier. Sure, man, I could have gone through all these various scenarios of when I had hemlock or something I thought was different ended up being hemlock, whatever it was. But it's just like, I, I still got a couple things to learn in this life. I saw it for what it was. I didn't need to take it further than that.
Hmm.
That's my pitch for everyone getting a past life regression. I think you should do it. I can do a much better job at marketing myself. But that's part of the lesson, or what I perceive to be the lesson at this point. And here's the other thing. What if I use that crutch of responsibility as a way to play small and keep myself small and not be the biggest past life regressionist in the world right now? Because I'm like, gotta do it responsibly because, there's other lives where I didn't always handle my power responsibly. So I gotta be responsible this time. And all these cool things we could talk about right now. I'm like, can't touch on that because that's not responsible. Should we
Yeah,
talk about the aliens? Yeah. Can we talk about the ancient civilizations that no longer exist in a linear time sense? Can't talk about that. That's not responsible. Can't let anyone get hung up on that. Got to talk about the here and now. Past life regressionist. I don't know. Maybe I should just chill out. You
that's a
know?
lot to deal with. It's like you're
Right.
trying to balance, right? Like in the middle, like you're trying to. Sometimes it's too much. It's like sometimes it's too much, and just like you said, just take the lessons, but use them now because if you're like overthinking, right? And it's like in a way, if you get stuck on what if this happened in this life? What if I do this and it's going to cause karma in a future life?
Oh, I'm not
It's
worried
going to
about that.
stop. You're not worried about that. You'll deal with that in that life.
Yeah.
You're like 200 years, I'll handle that then. Yeah, it's like focusing on the now. And anyway, bringing it back to the
Just really quick.
relationships.
Sorry. Last
Yeah.
thing with that, though. When I say I'm not worried about that,
Hmm.
I'm not worried about the karma component. I'm worried
Why?
about being a good person right now. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. I don't want to be a bad person because I don't think it's good to be disrespectful to others or treat them poorly. Am I going to slip up and be a jerk sometimes? Yeah. I'm only
We're
human.
human, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so maybe in a saint in another life, not in this one though.
Well, you know what, too, is what I noticed, and it's like as I've gotten older, I've kind of noticed it more. I wanted relationships to be reciprocal. And I still do feel like most of the time there should be a give and take in
Mhm.
relationships, right? Like
In a perfect
obviously a
world.
healthy dynamic. Yeah, exactly. Like you don't want to be the only one giving, but you don't want to be the only person taking. But I feel like there was this need for things to always be a certain way. And as I've gotten older, it's like sometimes you just do the right thing because you're doing the right thing and it
Hmm.
makes you feel good, regardless of what the other person is giving you back, regardless of the connection being as reciprocal as you want it to, or regardless of the connection moving in the way you want it to, you're focusing your actions on you so that you feel good. And when you feel good, life gets so much better. You just have so much peace in your body.
I mean, I'm still working towards that. Sounds nice.
Oh, start little. I feel like it's like start little. And sometimes it's thinking back. It's like noticing, like, wow, I did something really small, but it was really nice. And it was something I might have had trouble with in the past. And so I'm proud of how I've grown, even in the smallest way.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't be a jerk. I think
Yeah.
that should be the bumper sticker motto for everyone. And yeah, acknowledge the wins,
Yeah.
acknowledge the growth. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Now, here's another layer of it though. My own personal belief, I don't believe that anyone is truly altruistic.
Yes.
I don't believe it. I think there are a lot of good people out there,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think there's anything wrong with it either. I don't think there's
Right.
anything wrong with someone helping the homeless because it makes them feel good. I don't think there's anything wrong with that
Mm-hmm.
because people are benefiting from that as well. Why is it a bad thing if you feel good, but others are being helped and no one's being hurt? Why is that a bad thing? I just I think it would be very beneficial for everyone to not try to be so altruistic all the time. Just be a good person. Because
Mm.
I think even on a level that transcends us as humans, with my belief in cosmology when it comes to karma and racking up these points, if that's the system and how it works, I think on a soul level, we probably know that. So even if we're not consciously acting out in that fashion, I think on some level, subconsciously, we do, which I think eliminates the whole altruism component of it, even if we think we're acting altruistically. And for anyone who may not know what that is, it's it's just really being like, I just did this good thing to do a good thing, not getting anything from it. That's altruism at the very basic level. It's being like, no, I fed the homeless to feed the homeless. It did nothing for me.
Mm.
That would be altruism. I just don't believe anyone is altruistic, but I don't think that that's a problem. So anyone holding themselves to that standard of I cannot receive anything from this, why? You think that's gonna to make you a better person, or that'll get you into nirvana faster, or that's when you'll become enlightened at that
Mm.
point, is when you're no longer altruistic. If that's your reason for doing it, I think you got a lot of growing up to do and a lot of learning to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you got a lot of evolving to do too.
Yeah. I like how you put that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So before we go, I want to ask you one final.
Relationships, karmic.
Yeah, I want to ask you one final question. Um, in terms of relationship, for anyone dealing with a difficult relationship, I'm not talking extreme. I'm not
Mhm.
talking physical, like deep emotional physical abuse. I'm just talking a difficult relationship that might be challenging, someone that you can't step away from because either A, you work with them, B, you're a family member, C, their spouse, whatever. How can people focus on the now and forget about what might have been in the past?
That's a loaded question. You're asking a past life
Making you balance
regressionist.
again.
God, I don't know, to be fully honest with you on that one. I'm inclined to say just do the best that you can do. But that's also the time, there's the same point like saying, what do you do when you're hot and the heat is on in the room and you can't turn it off?
So I guess let's break it down to, would you tell them, let's go back and dig a little deeper into past lives and see how you might want to overcome it now? Or would you go into the future and be like, I'm trying to avoid bad karma, so I would do this action now, past, or future?
In a situation like that, I'm gonna make the play for past life regression at that point.
No
If it's
way.
if it's a situation you
Yeah.
can't get yourself out of, I think a deeper understanding may be beneficial. But there's another component of past life regression I've also seen. When I have clients who go back and there's something that shifts in them once they come back from a session, I've had many people reach out to me after and say, they changed. They have changed. Like when I say they, this other person,
Oh, the person in their life.
hmm
Got it.
they've changed. Something happened and they're different now. That has happened many times. Something happens. I can't explain it, but something happens. That's, I think, when it comes to
For
the
for
non,
good? Usually for
Hey,
good or for more or not.
I don't always get the follow up email or
Yeah.
call.
That's so interesting. I've never heard that. I've always heard I've changed, right? Like me, the
I mean, no,
person
that
who's a,
happens too.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
but
interesting.
but they've changed.
So is it like, right? Bringing it back to past lives. I don't know. Did something shift in the core? Did something shift in the timeline and the energy to make the relationship dynamic shift now, right? Being aware of something in your past might have shifted something in the energy of the relationship in the now to shift the other person. I don't know. That's wild.
I think that that's probably the only explanation. And that's
Yeah.
why I think self-awareness is our way out. And when I
Yeah.
say our way out, when I look at everything going on in the world right now, I can't do anything about what's going on the world stage. But what I can do is help people look deeper in themselves and help them see their shadows and help them be better people in the here and now. To me, that is the way we find ourselves out of
Mhm.
this mess we find ourselves in, because I think that people just lack a tremendous amount of self awareness.
Yeah.
And once that spark and that light goes on, I think that's when the ripple effect happens. Really, look up at the top of the food chain right now and the movers and shakers of the world. Do you think these are people acting with any self awareness? I I don't think so. I'd be very, very surprised to see these people operating with an ounce of self awareness and
Hmm.
not be completely just unaware of just any part of themselves and just shooting from the hip. So, in that situation, like I'm an advocate of everyone doing past life regression, but not when you make it your crutch,
Yes.
not when you use it as an excuse to not get yourself out of a bad situation right now.
Hmm.
Look at the picture for what it is. But so, but for your example, I don't know any other way out of it other than you on your own working through it and becoming that best version of yourself. And hopefully by proxy, something shifts in that person.
Loved our chat.
Thank you for having me on.
We have to at some point, well, I'll go in maybe on the side and I'll let you know. I'm like, have we had any past lives together? I don't know. I'm gonna check it out.
I think you should. I mean, I do it through past life regression.
I know.
I don't access the Akashic records like you do. I'm inclined to say, yeah, we probably crossed paths before. I
Yeah,
mean, I
I'm
think
curious.
that even the first time that we recorded, there was a natural dynamic there. I
Yes,
felt
and that's what we
comfortable
were
with you.
talking about, right? Like that's what we were saying. Like if when you meet someone, right? Whether they're irritating, like I started off with like the really irritating person, but in a relationship, the other person you're connected to, right? Sometimes there's more than just being a stranger I just met on the street. Sometimes there's something more. There's this knowing or this connection. And I feel like those are the instances that I love
Hmm.
diving into and exploring because I'm like, why is that? Obviously, it's energy, right? Like we might be similar in some ways. The way we think might be similar. The energy we're putting out might be similar. Our sarcasm might be similar. But it's always fun to explore, like, was there something else? So I
Is it
will
okay
go
if I ask you a
explore.
question about that really quick?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about this when you were initially pitching that. Well, if you meet someone for the first time,
Yeah.
because I'm going to make also the assumption for your audience that a lot of those listening are deeply intuitive and
Yes.
probably sense energy
Yeah.
and are able to have an awareness of what they can't necessarily see.
Hmm.
So if someone walks into your space and you meet them for the first time, but it is just the heaviest feeling in the world, how can you differentiate by what they're carrying around and them being the villain in your story in another life and that
Right.
bad feeling that you're
Exactly.
getting? Like, how can you differentiate that?
I
Or
don't
just
know. I don't know. I think if it was me, I think if it was that strong and I was that curious about it. So I'm like
I
you. I
mean, lay
never
down. Let me regress you right now.
Yeah, I'm like you where I don't default to that. I think when you're bringing up, like in the past you went to do regressions on yourself just to really learn about it. That was
I'll have
like,
people do them for me.
oh, but can you do it yourself too?
I can, but
You can. Okay. All right. So
I
either
choose
way.
not to though.
Okay. So either way, even with me with energy work, right? When I learned Reiki, that was all the time. That's all I did every day. It was my default, my go-to. And same with the records. When I started learning, I was like, oh, I want to explore. I want to see what's coming up. I want to see this. And now I only do it if I really feel like there's something that I need to learn. If there's
Mhm.
something that would change what I'm doing right now to make my life better or to make the situations I'm in better. And that's what makes me want to figure that out. And I think the important thing is remembering that when I'm interacting with someone and it's either A, so heavy, and I just feel like I need to move away. I think if it was that strong, if it was just a stranger, I'd leave it alone. It was probably just our energy, right? There's something off putting, I don't feel safe, whatever it is, and move away. But I think if I was around that person all the time, let's say I worked with them or I came into contact with them all the time and it was affecting my life or affecting the
Mhm.
way I felt, then I would go back and explore. Because I
Yeah.
feel like at that point, I'm like, oh, there's something more interesting, but not as a crutch,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
as
Yeah. As
awareness.
And how
Yeah,
how do you move forward from it?
right,
How do you
exactly.
work with it? Yeah, and just also with that, I hope that what I said earlier about just it just is what it is doesn't come off the wrong way for a lot of your listeners because I've been doing this for a decade.
Hmm.
This has been my world, and I don't think anyone should feel bad about having these natural curiosities if they're just dipping their toe in it for the first time. And it's like, where you're at also not defaulting to it.
Hmm.
We've been through that. We've gone through that phase. And it's not to say like, oh, look at us now. We're so much better than you are. That was me. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. And I don't think anyone should feel bad if that's where you're at right now, because it's like you're walking into the toy store for the first time and you're a kid and your eyes are lighting up. It's like, I can play with all this.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
it's okay.
I think I agree with you. I think it's okay as long as you are not dismissing other parts of your life and
Yes,
avoiding other parts of
absolutely.
your life to
Hmm.
go do this because you think past lives have all the answer, because that is the crutch. That's how you know it's the crutch, right?
Hmm.
When it is literally limiting your life. And I think in the
Exactly.
beginning it's hard because you're so excited and you're like, I
Oh
want to
yeah.
dive in. Yeah.
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 Okay. Guilty.
Yeah.
But I think it was also necessary to be
But it
where I
taught you
am
a
right
lot.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I get it and I can identify it most of the time. So I, yeah, everyone, you are where you are on your journey. It's okay if you're not enlightened. You,
You'll get
you,
there.
you get there.
You'll
Yeah.
get there.
I'll get there eventually. Stephanie will get there eventually. I
Yeah.
mean, she'll probably get there sooner than I will.
Uh.
Everyone listening, you'll probably get there sooner than I will. But
We'll all get there in our own
we'll all get
time
there.
with
Yeah.
the people we're meeting, I think. But yeah, so is there some final thing you want to say before we end? I'm leaving the floor open.
Just thank you for having me again and not being such a prick this life and not putting me on the cross this time.
Did I
And
do that?
I don't know, I'm just guessing.
I don't know. Okay, I'm
And so
definitely
you're probably
gonna.
trying to make it up. Like, I'm bringing you on my podcast again because I crucified you in another life.
No, well, the interesting thing is, um, I've done this before with friends I've met, right, in the spiritual space. We've taken a class together and we really bond and like we're friends together. And I feel like
How I killed you in another life.
there's a connection. And it's so fascinating because I think for me, how we talked about earlier, going through it and wanting it to be a certain way, so that's what's playing out in your mind. So random.
Hmm.
So let's see what randomness comes up.
I'll toast to that. And then there's my
And
wishful
then you
thinking
gotta
that you
go,
kill me in other lives.
yes.
Like, oh, that would make sense. Or
Just
that,
like
or when you stole everything from me, left me for dead. Not by oh yes, by the way, sorry about that. That was me. Another
legit
thing.
silenced you, which is why you couldn't, we froze.
It's either that or it was the karma of the last time me playing that joke at the beginning. It
Yeah.
was
Well,
something.
isn't that funny? I do think
All
I've
the variables.
noticed, right? They always say what goes around comes around, good or bad. I take that. But it's something I never really understood until I got older and I actually saw things playing out, right? Like
Hmm.
for example, froze on screen to be annoying. Like you did it. It was funny,
Oh, that was funny. Yeah.
right? So like
Yeah.
I wouldn't think, oh, that's going to play out again to get me back. But let's say you do something annoying later on, it's probably going to come back. And then over time, you're like, wow, I really got to watch how I interact with people
Hmm.
because it'll either show up in the future in like 30 days and 2 days and 10 days or 200 years, but it will come up. So I think, yeah, it's important to be a good person, focus on the now.
See, if that's the case, I'm glad that the whole screen freezing thing came up in this life and not another one, because that'd be more of a head scratcher. I can't imagine another thing like, okay, I gotta have a past life regression to figure this one out. Like, oh, it was because I was doing an interview and I did a joke.
Right.
Like, oh, there goes, a couple $1,000. I'm thinking of inflation, a couple $1,000 down the drain if I'm going in, a linear time
Yeah.
sense in the future for that. Oh, to figure out that one, but it's bad past life joke. Thank you for having me on, Stephanie. This was a pleasure as always. Thank you.